Welcome, everybody, to SQW number 34-ish. All Hallows Eve Eve Eve. I am Dolly, still the champ, Dimovsky. Joining me. Wow, that was one long-winded, horrible intro.
You just kind of kept going and
So
going.
sorry for everybody. Actually, we're 35 right now. 35 or I don't know, whatever. We're one of those numbers. I'll post it somewhere. Yes, I'm Dolly Dimovsky. Joining me as usual. Sorry for this giant thing in the way. Joining me is John Keogh.
Yo, everybody. Oh, I better not do the too sweet or I'll make it a cease and desist.
Oh, is that a thing now? The cease and desist thing that they're doing? No, no.
Yeah.
It happened to the Young Bucks.
Happened to the Young Bucks. And also JJ the Beholder.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I think I may have used that one before as well.
You have. You didn't
All
even
right.
give one to John.
No, I haven't. I've been so out of the game. I've been gone for a month, essentially. Sorry, everybody. I know how much you've been missing me, internet world, but I've been so swamped with office work that I haven't been able to have any fun whatsoever. So I am using these fine two gentlemen to catch me up on all of the wrestling news, which is actually kind of a good thing because it'll help you guys catch up as well in case you've missed anything. There is a lot of fun stuff to catch up on. I am still the champ thanks to SummerSlam. I have the result sheet down over here somewhere. I'm staring at it. Somehow I won it.
You haven't defended your title in over 30 days. At this
Yeah,
point.
I'm totally Jinder Mahal right now. I'm totally pulling Jinder. But that's totally fine. We'll get into Jinder later. But there have been a couple shows, and we'll kind of briefly touch on that. No Mercy. Let's talk real quickly about No Mercy and some of the results there. Do you guys want me to go over some of the major results, or do you guys think you can? You can just
go through the rundown pretty quick.
I'll go through the rundown. You guys jump in.
Yeah, me and John know that we made predictions on this, but we couldn't tell you what our predictions were. What I do remember is that we tied.
We tied.
Yes, the show is posted in the feed, so make sure you guys can listen to that and razz these two fine boys.
Make sure
Yeah.
really tear into John more.
Tear into John. We had let's see, The Miz defeated Jason Jordan.
Yeah.
To retain the title as Intercontinental Champion. This is an interesting one, and I think that a lot of people were actually chatting about this one. Finn versus Wyatt, and Finn defeating Wyatt, and how that sort of spawned out into a bunch of different things over the last couple weeks.
Yeah. This was the man versus man match.
Yeah.
Also known as a match. And so one would think that the feud has reached a conclusion since Finn has defeated him as both the Demon and as normal Finn Balor. But turns out Bray Wyatt has an alternate costume, a different option in 2K18 this year. He's gonna become Sister Abigail. It would seem.
Wow.
It would seem so. It might be a swerve, bro, but it's definitely something happening at the coming pay-per-view. Do we want to deep dive into that little thing before we keep going, or?
I'm okay with that. Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this for anyone who's catching up again. So Bray Wyatt said that Sister Abigail is alive, and then his face kind of morphed into sort of like, is it
the ring kind of like thing? Like
it's because the first time I saw it, I wasn't sure if it was quite actually him, but with like black makeup around his eyes and like a black cheesecloth over his head kind of deal. So at first I was wondering if they were going to go for some kind of possession angle, which I was like, that's not so bad, but it seems it just may be him or an actual physical person who is Sister Abigail. But it certainly seems that they're leading to Bray himself dressing as Sister Abigail somehow to fight Finn Balor.
Just
straight up.
Yeah, just Bray in like a bloody wedding dress or something. Who knows what's going to
who knows what. Yeah, so if it was a possession angle like Marlena on Days of Our Lives or something, like I could almost get into that. Like he gets a little extra power boost because his mind has changed. But
not actually the same person. It's a completely different person.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'm almost even hoping that it's a swerve and it's like Sanity is going to debut as part of the new Wyatts because they had the black eye makeup there for a cup of coffee.
and unfortunately, we both know that's just
Yeah, none of these things are actually happening. It's going to be Bray.
It's gonna be Bray in a dress.
Or some
Some level, yeah.
Bray and cheesecloth.
Bray and a cheesecloth. Bray and a cheesecloth. On other matches, we had Dean Ambrose and Seth defeating Sheamus and Cesaro.
Yeah, we all that one I know we both decided was going to be the result for that one because of course it was going to be because we knew the Shield was getting back together kind of thing.
Yes, yeah. That's been one thing that we saw just happen recently with how much fans hate Roman Reigns, and man, they really tried to push him over on the on the damn pay-per-view, but with John Cena, and people hated it, absolutely hated it for the most part. But then, of course, the minute the Shield gets back together, I mean that's like the easy way to turn him into a pseudo fan favorite again.
Yeah, it's going surprisingly well, actually.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know why they decided to just ruin the match by just throwing Braun Strowman as the fourth man on the opposite team. Like, it's like they just realized at the last minute, like, Jesus, we forgot to put Braun Strowman into this pay-per-view.
Just throw it in there.
Yeah. It would have been funnier if it was the Shield versus the Miz, Cesaro, and Sheamus versus Braun Strowman.
Yeah, that would have been actually kind of fun. Yeah. Yep. But it's a 4-on-3. This is for TLC we're talking about. It's a 4-on-3.
TLC, yeah. It's pretty close to a Survivor Series match. Actually.
Yeah, it almost is, right?
It's kind of silly.
Yeah, just wait a month and you can actually have the match you want. Clearly.
Yeah, and that's what's interesting is that with TLC is a week away. They still don't. They only have like 4 matches that they've announced. So it's almost like it really does kind of feel like TLC is just sort of a throwaway show right now.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Yeah. Hopefully they'll announce some more. I'm sure they'll announce some more tomorrow and or over the week. So other matches. I mean, of course, we did mention the Roman Reigns defeating John Cena. But you also had Alexa Bliss defeating Bayley.
Yeah,
because heel champs don't lose multi-person matches.
That is correct. That is actually it's a good rule to live by. It's a good rule to live by. And I think
they've already announced Asuka's, like, she must have not actually been that hurt. Because they announced it like then, like she's coming to like Monday Night Raw, and I don't understand why it was just why they were so desperate to get her out of NXT just as abruptly as they did. Like,
right?
Yeah,
and should be at TLC apparently.
Yep.
Cruiserweight, you had Enzo defeating Neville. What was that?
That went well.
Yeah. Yeah, this pay-per-view actually wasn't too bad up until the Enzo match.
Yeah. Oh God, that was I watched clips of that one. Actually, no, I take it back. I had that one playing in the background as I wanted to see that, and I wanted to see the Braun and Brock B versus B match. But that was not fun. That was not that the Braun and Brock match was really any better, but there's some stuff that's going to need to take place, and obviously we'll get into some Neville stuff here shortly. So
and
then of course Brock defeating Braun. They're just riding the Brock horse as long as they can go to try to build up some level of interest there.
Yeah. As far as that main event went, the match itself wasn't terrible. People were complaining about that Braun lost to just one F5.
Yeah,
I don't have a problem with them trying to re-protect the F5. I really don't mind that at all, really. But I just felt that the finish, the closing moments of the match, didn't build to that crescendo to which one F5 would make sense.
Sure.
I mean, the Samoa Joe lost to one F5 as well, which was also kind of sudden, but within the context of the match, it felt like it was Brock's last gasp to get him. Here, it didn't really feel that way.
Like,
which is
if
too
it
bad for
happened-
Braun.
If the F5 happened a little earlier in the match when Braun Strowman was really doing some offense against him and stuff, that it would have made a little more thematic sense. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, it felt like that match just had the third act was just poorly booked from so it was just
kind of fun.
It will leave a bad taste in your mouth, which will make you think the whole match was bad, and really the whole match wasn't that bad.
No. I mean, Braun was in control.
Supposed to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that that was essentially the end of that pay-per-view. You guys tied. So by default, I'm still the champ.
And nobody's king of the ring, so it's great.
Nobody's king of the ring. Yeah, we're gonna do something.
Something accomplished there.
There was another pay-per-view, of course, and that was Hell in a Cell, which was just
no. It was Hell in a Cell. Hell in a Cell.
I don't know.
We didn't make any predictions for this.
No,
we did not.
I don't think any of us could have made predictions.
Yeah.
Weird pay-per-view.
It was a weird pay-per-view. So I'll go through some of these results. Right? You had in the pre-show, you had.
Did anyone else feel like every match just went on like 10 minutes longer than it was supposed to?
Yeah,
long matches. Yeah.
And there were some pretty good matches. I gotta say, that was a surprising one. I mean, the Usos and defeating the New Day.
That was a really good match.
That was potentially my highlight match of the pay-per-view. But the other ones. Sorry, go ahead.
I would say for sure that was my favorite match.
Yeah. Obviously, you had Gable and Shelton Benjamin. Taking on beating the Hype Brothers. That's kind of the pre-show stuff.
Yeah. Still keeping that Hype Brothers train rolling for some reason.
Yeah, they're still trying. Randy Orton defeating Rusev. So I'm a big Rusev fan. My family is from Eastern Europe, and so I'm thinking, all right, I got to support this guy. The match wasn't really all that impressive, unfortunately.
It's every Randy Orton match. That's since outside of the gender stuff, there was nothing different with that match, and even the gender stuff was all the same match, just 3 times over, just for a different way.
Yeah, right. I think there's some matchups that you can do with Randy, with Orton, but he's had a string of some pretty weak matchups. I'm just waiting for the inevitable Randy Orton versus John Cena, like 18,000th time.
Yeah. You're absolutely getting that at some point. Again, really soon.
Yep. The U.S. Championship, we had Baron Corbin defeating Ty and AJ.
AJ just shoving Ty Dillinger in there last minute, so you could have AJ not eat the pin.
And then he did on SmackDown on the following Tuesday, but whatever. I guess I don't know why they kept him on pay-per-view, but
I want WWE to make me be interested in Baron Corbin because at least look there with Corbin that can work in wrestling and like sort of core concept of like him in NXT where it's just like I didn't want to be a wrestler growing up. This is just what I'm doing. This is my job now. It's fine, but
didn't this feel like I mean, you mentioned that so AJ wouldn't get the pin and it kind of feels like this was their way of getting AJ out of the U.S. Championship for giving him another big push. Does it kind of seem like that? Like maybe he's going to be ramping things up again?
You would hope.
Yeah.
You would hope that that's what the plan is, but it's always impossible to tell with the WWE.
That's true.
But they do need somebody in that picture, especially. Okay, so the rumor right now for Survivor Series is Jinder Mahal versus Brock Lesnar, non-title match. So we know at least by November, if that's the case, then nobody's going to be in that picture for the World Championship, really.
Really, the only next one is TLC is next, right? Between now and Survivor Series.
Yes.
But
and that's a Raw show.
And it's a Raw show, exactly. Then you have Clash of Champions in December, and that's really all that's been booked for the rest of this year. So
So the India tour that Jinder is on currently, that he's promoting right now, I should say, is not until December.
Yeah.
So I mean, I presume if they've took the effort to send Jinder to India to promote his matches against Kevin Owens in India, because he's going to be the babyface in India, that he's going to be holding the title at least until the Rumble.
Yes, yeah. I mean, he's having a blast out there.
Oh, a complete blast. And we can get into
cool
that. We can get into that in a second.
Yep.
But in terms of the booking for AJ and how he ties into this, I wouldn't be shocked if AJ meets up with Jinder not until the Rumble.
Yeah.
If he's going to have a throwaway match with Brock, and then December is, as you said, Clash of Champions.
Yeah.
So who he faces there, I'm not sure, but I would hold off on pulling the trigger on AJ and Jinder, in which I presume AJ would probably win the belt, but until the Rumble, if I was to book it, I think.
Yeah, I mean that seems sort of take it at face value. I mean, take it at face value. That's what it sort of seems like, but you never know. Anything could happen. They could decide that Kevin Owens during this tour is the guy that they want back in the title picture on SmackDown, and then go from there. Whatever, so. Yeah.
Yep. You know what? I have to mention. I'm sorry. There is one more event right after SummerSlam, and that's Starrcade.
It's
taking place
non-televised.
Non-televised.
That's good. Bring back.
Bringing it back.
How is that just not like a 3-camera network special?
Yeah.
Seriously, like this.
It's not like why not? Why? It's not like they have a digital platform to put whatever the hell they want out.
Right.
It's too hard to get content up on the network, I guess. I don't know.
Well, what's kind of interesting is that it's the it's a weird number, 34th anniversary of Starrcade. Starrcade 83 was on November 24th.
Yeah, it used to be a Thanksgiving tradition.
Yep.
Like Survivor Series used to be. So they're doing it around Thanksgiving this year again. So it makes sense, but just put it on the network. Christ.
Yeah.
They're bringing back War Games for NXT. Like
that's true.
That was the big one. That was a big deal that they're doing. And clearly they're digging back into the WCW vault for ideas. Like the fact that we don't have Halloween Havoc is absurd. It's the perfect pay-per-view title for a October show.
Right.
So
let's see what else do we have out of that one. Yeah, Charlotte defeating Natalya to get the women's championship back. Or actually, I'm sorry, via disqualification. Sorry about that, disqualification. Which I'm not a fan of disqualifications in pay-per-views unless it's something absolutely, mind-bogglingly awesome. But this, I think the fact that it just kind of ended in disqualification, it makes it really kind of throwaway.
It was good heel work from Natalya, but that's good heel work for TV.
Yeah.
So,
And I also felt that she really wasn't at a point of desperation to hit her with the chair on the knee and that kind of stuff. It was kind of like the Brock thing and Brock Braun. Like this kind of came out of nowhere without a whole lot of build to that moment. Like if she was in real trouble for most of the match, then okay, then she snuck her way out. But it was pretty competitive the whole way through.
Up next, you had Jinder, our man Jinder, beating Shinsuke.
Yeah, can't hear that Jinder, can you?
Yeah, man.
And just a
what are they doing?
Non-heel victory against Shinsuke Nakamura. So that's good. That was a fun match, wasn't it?
Yeah. You had Bobby Roode defeating Ziggler.
No, that's right.
That one kind of came out of nowhere because I wasn't even expecting either of those to appear.
And they have Ziggler doing the no entrance music thing now. So, with an actual record scratch sound or something. Which, it wouldn't surprise me if Vince is piping in the music on vinyl. That actually, now that I think about it, that makes sense.
Sure. Well, and then the final match, the Hell in a Cell Falls Count Anywhere with KO defeating Shane McMahon.
That was an incredibly boring match. that only had one moment that worth note, and it wasn't Shane McMahon's identical spot that he did in the last Hell in a Cell match he was in. It was the fact that Sami Zayn saved Kevin Owens from the elbow drop,
and that's it right there. The heel turn.
Sami Zayn.
Sami Zayn, yeah.
That was brilliantly filmed as well.
Yeah.
He didn't know what happened until they started really hammering home the fact that, holy crap, it was Sami Zayn that did
that. Yeah, I didn't pick up on it at all during the live moment, and I knew I realized he sat up and got off, but I did not know that he had been pulled off, and because sometimes they try that sometimes, a finish, and then they have to explain it on the replay. Yeah. This has to be one of the times that most made sense and was as well executed as possible. Because
did you see just how the timing on that, how perfect it was? Like,
it was unbelievable.
If it was just a couple more seconds, Shane would have actually dropped an elbow.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he didn't pull him up until he was falling. Like, he was on the way down when he pulled him up.
And boy, did that table look like it was made completely out of Nerf. Like, they didn't try to hide the fact at all.
At least it wasn't the balloon that went there you go. Like it did for the Undertaker one.
Yeah.
And that was it. That was Hell in a Cell.
Yeah. The Sami Zayn heel turn. I liked the fact that when it happened, he looked like he didn't realize, or you could see the dark side kind of creeping in, kind of way he was, the facial expressions, because like I think I said on Twitter, like for a match that tried to get over and didn't succeed on all fronts, Sami Zayn managed to generate more interest in 2 minutes of facial expressions than they could do in the entire almost 40-minute match, wasn't it? And
even he looked surprised, but also partially pleased with himself for what he did. Like, it was
he knew. I mean, he meant to do it, but he's just like, he would shudder and he would like get the cold shivers and these kinds of things. And I was kind of hoping on SmackDown that his explanation for it would be a little more, some more nuance to it. More than just, I did it because it was the right thing to do, which is totally acceptable. I don't mind that much, but I thought maybe he would play with what it means to turn heel. I was hoping for a little more nuance, but it was very satisfying to me.
It's a shame that nothing's gonna really come of it, and we both know that. Like,
not a big the status quo won't change that much. No.
Yeah, I basically what this is gonna do, it's gonna get Kevin Owens into a tag team with Sami Zayn. Like,
that's insane.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, like, at some point I can see Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens being tag champs relatively soon. Like, so, and then back to status quo for Sami Zayn for a little while. Like, he'll turn face again shortly after that all said and done, and Kevin Owens back to his bullying ways.
So, speaking of strange turns, I'm going to move on to some of the news related things. We had Neville, the Neville saga takes a strange turn. So I'm going to read from our good friends at Pro Wrestling Sheet reporting on this. There's been the rumor about Neville wanting his release from the WWE, and it happened, I guess, right during Raw, or right before Raw.
The news has changed a little bit from time to time, but the basic bullet points from the original Pro Wrestling Sheet story sounds about, for the most part, right. But maybe not right. Meltzer is sort of saying that he's heard otherwise.
Do you want to explain what those original bullet points are?
So basically, Neville's just incredibly unhappy. So it sounds like that Raw, the plans were in place to have him like be in that picture, even though he's not supposed to be in the picture because he beat up Neville or Enzo. And basically, it sounds like he just walked out on Raw, like CM Punk style. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. He just complained like a day before about his new T-shirt on Twitter because it's a terrible, boring. Like, nobody put any sort of design thought into it at all. It's just black shirt with gray lettering on it, and it's just incredibly boring. And it's just, he wants to go the route that so many other guys have done to cut a path for himself on the end, like Drew McIntyre, I think was the example. He wants to cut a path like Drew McIntyre and just make a name for himself out there, which It's fine. That's a good idea, especially since they're not doing anything with you now, I guess. Like, you lost to Enzo. That was like, nobody's into Enzo, and they just had you. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's a weird story.
Yeah.
And there's no concrete evidence either way, other than the fact that Neville wasn't on Raw. That's about the extent. Like,
right, Callisto kind of took a spot, right?
Yeah, and it sounds like Neville wasn't gonna win the title in that fight, but they ended up, when they changed it, they just had Callisto winning the title in the end, anyways, which is still super weird. That's a whole other thing. That's just
it's weird, but I think that has to do with Callisto had to face him at the pay-per-view anyway, so I don't think that maybe they didn't want to beat him twice.
Yeah,
flip-flop it so that he doesn't lose the momentum that he kind of had, but
yeah, like the momentum he had from his like 1 week heel turn that he tried for like a spell, and then that didn't work out, so then he's a good guy again, and but yeah, there's really no concrete proof of any way of what happened with Neville. Like, is he gone? Like, one source says he is, another source says nobody said that. I can't confirm it. It's a very interesting story that's going to unravel, I guess. We'll know probably by tomorrow. You'd think we
would.
Yeah, true.
Well, another interesting story is the Jimmy Jacobs saga, which is another person that may be no longer working with the WWE. So Jimmy Jacobs is he's like a backstage.
He's a writer. He was a writer.
Writer. Yep.
Yeah.
And
sorry, go ahead. Wrestler. Yeah,
yes.
Top-notch wrestler back in this time. So. Yep.
Well, he's been, as the story goes, and again, thank you to Pro Wrestling Sheet. He's been, I don't want to say on the outs, but he's been there. It's been bumpy recently.
Yeah.
Between him and the WWE, and so he took a photograph. He took a photo and posted on social media with the Bullet Club. They had their whole kind of invasion thing happening, right?
The aforementioned photo.
Yeah.
Yes.
That earned them a cease and desist.
Yep.
It got them the cease and desist, and it got Jimmy Jacobs fired. So
yeah.
I don't know.
It's they talk about the invasion of WWE to WCW that time, and when you're on top, you don't call out the competition and these kinds of things. Like, I find it's really, if all this stuff is true, it's really telling how much they care about what's going on elsewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. I mean, it's got to be weird to see a foreign company coming down and and Ring of Honor coming down and actually having people like going, looking in your audience and seeing how many Bullet Club shirts are out there. It's got to be weird for them.
Well, and not only that, it's how many empty seats, and in the ones that are filled, how many of those have Bullet Club shirts? Like you said.
I find it really interesting, and we talked a little bit about this in the past, but there are a lot of avenues right now for wrestling, right? I mean, obviously, we're talking about not just where you can watch it and the different types of shows, even the Netflix kind of scripted glow stuff, but how social media is having an effect right now.
Yeah.
And we didn't have this back when the WWF and the and WCW were at each other's throats, but it's very different now.
Yeah, and I don't know. Jimmy Jacobs being gone is kind of a non-issue because Jimmy Jacobs can get a job anywhere in the wrestling industry if he wanted to, and I don't feel like he will be missed or lost in the shuffle with him being gone from WWE because the writing has been garbage anyways.
Exactly. It can only go up.
Yeah,
but I'm finding it really interesting though. You see the Bullet Club stuff. You see Ring of Honor. You're seeing more and more of this kind of thing. It's cool.
Like, you can go into a Hot Topic and buy Bullet Club shirts ad nauseum. And they just signed a deal, and they're going to be making those Funko Pop figures of Bullet Club guys now. So, like, the Young Bucks are going to be getting a 2-pack of pop figures and stuff. Like, they've become mainstream in the weirdest way possible.
Yeah. It's brilliant. It's grassroots. It's grassroots, totally.
Yeah.
And then you got a guy like Neville who, if it is true that he wants to leave, or if he goes, what have you, I mean, he has places to go.
Yeah.
I mean, there hasn't been this kind of. I mean, it's not WCW money as it would be back in the '90s or late 2000s, or early 2000s, sorry. But it's. I mean, it's working out for Austin Aries. It worked out for McIntyre, Cody.
Yeah. According to Austin Aries, he's making more money on the Indies than he did in WWE. Same thing with Cody. He says the same thing. Like, you can make better WWE money if you're an established name. Like, Neville will rule Progress. Like,
Oh yes, yeah. Yeah. I mean, he never has to touch down in GFW or TNA or whatever at all. Like, I mean, that's he doesn't need to.
Yeah. Right. Here's these segues have been awesome. Here's an amazing segue. Speaking of GFW, JJ, fill us in what you found.
GFW launched their network. That's on iOS and Android, and they have a free 30-day trial for that network. So I signed up for that right away to see what's going on with that, and it's everything I remember TNA to be. So I was watching, because you can watch all of the old, what they call the Asylum era stuff. So back they were pay-per-view only, like in the very early days of TNA. And it's an adventure, because for every 90% of everything's awful, but there are some damn good matches spread across this stuff. Like, for every bad Kevin Nash match against somebody like Abyss or something, it's just this is boring. You get Samoa Joe versus Kurt Angle. Something
that's awesome. Yeah,
there's a decade missing on the network of Kurt Angle's career that was really good wrestling. Kurt Angle did some great wrestling in TNA, or Impact as it is though now. It's still missing a lot of stuff. 90% of their TV stuff isn't on there.
Yeah, that may eventually creep on there. I mean, they have over.
It's also got weird independent stuff from people that, but it's Scott D'Amore's stuff. He's books. He writes for TNA now, but back in the day he did Border City Wrestling or whatever. So you can get this weird old compilation stuff too of classic wrestling if you want to watch some old Bruiser Brody matches and stuff. It's there's some interesting things. And of course they love to talk about WWE guys anytime they can. So they have their old shows of compilations of matches and stuff, and it's the profile picture is CM Punk raising his arms up. He had a cup of coffee in TNA, but
I think he was just literally driving past the building.
Yeah, they want to make sure that you're gonna click on this particular match because look, it's CM Punk sitting there, and it's $8. It's $8 a month.
Free 30-day trial right now.
It's fine, but I wouldn't go out of my way. If it's fun to catch up on wrestling that you have probably missed.
This is one of those things where you may want to do the 30-day free trial, get as much of it as you can, soak it in, and then just don't go back.
That's pretty much what my plan is. There's no reason for me to go back to a lot of this stuff. But
pay-per-views aren't included. You'll get
current pay-per-views.
Current pay-per-views aren't included. Yeah.
So it's just back catalog, but recent pay-per-views are on there and stuff. And, there's not, but like I said, I think it's only got the last 2 years of Impact TV and nothing else. There might be a 2004, 2005, or whenever they first started doing stuff and their weird Saturday shows and things and the compilation stuff that they do from time to time. But the bulk of it's the pay-per-views. It's a pay-per-view catalog, and TNA's pay-per-views have never been top-notch. There's always typically one very, very good match on it, and the rest is just forgettable nonsense. The first thing I did was go to, I forget what the pay-per-view was now, but it was the Sting versus Jeff Hardy, where Jeff Hardy was absolutely drunk match. That was the first thing I went to, because that was the only TNA pay-per-view I remember actually sitting through, and I don't know why I watched that particular TNA pay-per-view when it happened. I think I just happened to be free that time, and thought like, I guess I can watch some TNA. And I haven't watched a completely full show until the Broken Matt Hardy stuff happened with TNA since then. So it's an adventure to go and watch the good matches, and they actually have like the greatest matches in Impact history or whatever playlists.
Yeah, that would be helpful to have playlists like that, because it's the deep end, pretty big for me. I'm not sure where I would start. I mean, I have a couple of TNA DVDs, best of the X division of this particular year, or there's a couple of things I had down on the shelf there, but
there's just so much that is unwatchable in TNA that it's like. It's not like WWE where they have a library of other stuff too. Like if I get sick and tired of the stuff that WWE is putting out, I can watch an old NWA show from 1986 if I want to. Yeah. There's none of that. It is weird independent stuff or just Impact stuff, and like the old Impact stuff is hot garbage. Like so. Hey,
you got TNA British Boot Camp, so that's always good.
That's absolutely on there.
It's the WWE I think wants some of these videos obviously for the network and make their network more.
They put out surveys all the time asking like, would you pay an extra $10 a month if you got Ring of Honor and New Japan on the network or whatever? I just did survey of that the other day. Like you could tell they're sort of seeing if any one of us would pay extra $10 a month for specific content. That seems to be their end game, is they want to charge $20 a month.
Well, I mean, it's the argument is that they've already got all the hardcore wrestling fans that they're pretty much going to get. So I guess they want to know, is there more money to wring out of those hardcore fans?
I think to me, it's going to be original programming or different ways that they take a look at some of that classic programming. Like I'd love to see almost a riff tracks or a Mystery Science Theater version of some of these old, because I think it's a very easy thing to do. You get modern wrestlers or modern folks to do that. I think it'd be fun.
Very recently on his podcast, Steve Austin had I forget who now Brian Kendrick was on his podcast recently, and that's what they did. They sat down and watched Flair's Steamboat and just talked about it while the match played, and like you could very easily translate that to a network show.
It's just a booth in Connecticut. That's all you need.
Yeah. And they did tease. They did, that was in the survey. They did tease alternate commentary tracks from, the wrestlers involved or whatever, which they've done on DVDs in the past.
Right.
They've done that back in the day. They used to do that for like, especially with like Mick Foley stuff. They would like do alternate commentary with like, this is Jim Ross and Cactus Jack doing the commentary for this match. And
I think I've got a couple, like a Rey Mysterio or an Eddie Guerrero DVD where they do some for like Halloween Havoc '97, their match in that or something. A couple things.
They did tease their exact wording for it would be like an original week programming, like Game of Thrones, which
I remember seeing that. I think I filled that same one out. I actually think I filled that same one out.
Like, really? That's the opposite direction I need you guys going.
Well, here's something else. They with the popularity, and we're gonna get into this shortly with WWE 2K18. Try to set up some 2K18 esports level stuff or some. There could be some really interesting on the gaming side of things.
Xavier Woods' channel has shown that fans are willing to watch wrestlers in particular, like handle this stuff, and like he has like a Madden tournament like every year, which Seth Rollins has won every single year.
I mean. The 2K18 stuff. Sorry to cut you off, but the 2K18, I haven't heard so much buzz about a wrestling game that I have about this thing, and it seems like my feed is full of it. My Instagram is full of it. It's a thing. I don't like, and it's their own. They just take that thing and do a show.
Yeah,
do a show on that. Do a show on. I mean, they have a lot of. I know gaming is in general. There are quite a few WWE games out right now. Right, most of them for iOS, obviously. But if you could kind of take into account some of this stuff, and then even if it's just
they have like the most like popular YouTube channel, like on YouTube, like that is Video Game Central is YouTube.
Do it.
Like
do it.
Capitalize on it, like Xavier Woods did. You do it too. Like,
So there, I think there's some of that type of stuff that they can start to roll in and really start to capture onto this. For me, the WWE Network is great. It was a lot of fun for me. I'm actually very close to canceling it because I kind of feel like I've watched everything that I've wanted to watch, and I've binge watched stuff. I've just kind of, the nice thing about it was when I'm at the office, I've been playing some major late hours lately, so I just had it playing in the background, and I was able to let's look at all of Bobby Heenan stuff, all of Ric Flair stuff, all of this stuff. And you kind of go through it, and you're like, okay, well, I've reached the end of the WWE Network. I have to wait for a new pay-per-view before something else comes out that might be interesting.
I like bad wrestling, and like I desperately want them to add WCW Thunder to it because that was consistently bad wrestling, and like you don't get like WCW Worldwide and stuff. And the rumor is because of like lawsuits and stuff going on right now. Like there's royalty lawsuits going on. Like Raven is involved in a lawsuit with them and stuff. So there's a lot of funniness, and the concussion lawsuit is always creeping up for reasons like that, for why we don't get certain things, or why this guy's not in this game, or why there's no action figure of this guy, and it all usually stems around lawsuits. So.
Yeah, and pettiness.
Yes,
it sounds like you're the prime candidate to do a 30-day free trial of the GFW.
Maybe. You know, I mean, there's some really cool things that they could do with. You could almost have events, and again, this is we've kind of gone on a crazy tangent right now. But you could do really fun community events with WWE Network, and what I mean by that is. The Twitch stuff, when we watched Bob Ross videos, all of us are watching Bob Ross videos. Yeah. I'd love to see the WWE capitalize on something with coffee or someone just to say, hey, we're all going to be watching, Starrcade 83. Let's, you guys all watch. You can chat along with us, and we'll talk about it. We'll do it live.
AAA used Twitch. Like AAA did their big pay-per-view, their big annual event on Twitch this year. Live chats and everything. Like, why not? It's a proven platform, and it is. You have a guy that has got millions of viewers on your roster doing video game stuff and Twitch stuff and YouTube stuff. Like, you think.
Yep.
But,
they should get Xavier Woods to do basically the Nintendo World Championships, but with WWE video games.
Oh,
God, that'd be fantastic. There you go. I would watch the heck out of that.
Did you see the IGN thing? Did you watch any of that?
No,
they did an IGN WWE crossover show where they had like the WWE guys doing like a tournament, like what we're talking about on IGN. So,
and that should have been on the WWE
network.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of gaming, obviously WWE 2K18 is out now, and I'm picking it up for Switch the minute it lands on Switch. But the best part,
got the deluxe version. It's out tomorrow. It's out Tuesday.
It's out Tuesday. Sorry, I will say
spend a reasonable amount of money on it.
Exactly. I will say that the glitches have been pretty amazing. Pretty amazing.
Batista killing the crowd in the ECW.
Batista killing the crowd. Yes. Yeah. That's fantastic. Explosions everywhere. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this quite a bit.
I want the Switch version because I like being portable, but like it's no release date yet.
I think it's November now. I think it's like early November or end of October or beginning of November, since all the other 2K18 games are popping out now for the Switch. So the NBA and whatever else they have, they're coming out now. So I'd imagine that the WWE game is, I think they did say either end of October or beginning of November. So, however, speaking of Bautista, I'm glad you brought him up. Here's another phenomenal. This has been a really good show of tangents. Maybe I'll change the name to Tangents. But you mentioned Bautista. Bautista is in Blade Runner, the new Blade Runner 2049, and he is. I have to say, he is absolutely phenomenal in this. He has a short role, He's really good. He's really good in this. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
Good actor.
Yes, he is.
Really, because like his role as the bodyguard in Spectre was really good. Like he played that.
He's wonderful in Guardians.
Yeah. So.
And he's great in this. He plays I won't ruin it, but he plays a fantastic sort of pivotal role that when you, by the time you get to the end of the movie and you see the beginning part, you remember the beginning part. It's really good. So yeah, definitely check him out there. Yeah. It's always good to support. And he's been really. But I will say one thing: whether they've aged him or he has aged, I'm not 100% sure. But he looks like he's like in his 80s in this. In this film. So
speaking of wrestlers in movies, I was just watching before we got on here a video on YouTube, and I got an ad in the middle. For a new John Cena movie.
Yes.
And it is an image that I never want to have. I wish I could just burn it from my brain, because it was literally him butt chugging beer and then farting into the funnel, making the beer go back out of the funnel that he was butt chugging with. And
Blockers is the name of the movie.
And that is absolutely a nightmare. I never... An R-rated John Cena comedy is coming.
Yep. So he's in... So this is the best part about John Cena. He's got a ton of movies coming out. Blockers is coming out in 2018. He is taking one of the major roles in the new Bumblebee film, which is coming out next year. Yeah. He's in Daddy's Home 2, which is coming out soon as well. Or did it already come out? I can't remember. And then he's in the upcoming kids film. He's the star in Ferdinand, which is the Ferdinand the Bull. So he's having quite a year. Quite a year.
There's a reason why he's not on TV.
Yep. He is going the Rock route, and he's doing a pretty good job of it. So it's been interesting to see his late. I mean, he was in some pretty bad, really bad movies at WWE.
He was entertaining and Trainwreck. He was good in there. I like that.
But it looks like now he's finally starting to get a little bit of a niche going. So
yeah. And Transformers.
And Transformers. But I think that's basically it. We've had again, before the show, I said, let's do the quick one. And an hour later, here we are.
Yeah.
Quicker than if you go to YouTube and see the podcast, the roundtable I just did with my friends last week, which maybe wait for the edited version that I'm putting out, because it kind of just keeps going. There's a lot of dead space and a lot of just like, I want this show to be better than it turned out to be. So it's coming. I'm working on it.
We'll get there.
There's music and stuff. It's fine.
But you can watch the video now while you wait. So that's always awesome. Other than that, next week is a TLC. Hopefully we'll get some more information on what the matches are so we can make some predictions. I may or may not be available for these predictions. We'll let you all know, because I have my daughter's big birthday party weekend next weekend. So we'll figure that out. We'll get the plan going. But other than that, gentlemen, thank you. It's been a heck of a couple weeks in the wrestling world, and we did a pretty good wrap up, I think, on some of the stuff. So
we're getting back into a groove. Of some sort. Every 2 weeks seems to be about.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's usually some good news breaking every couple of weeks, right around pay-per-view time. I think this is what is happening. So you can find us at SQW Podcast. You can find us at sidequesting.com, on the iTunes, Google Play Store. I think we'll probably be on Spotify for all I know. YouTube, find us. You can find us individually and personally. I'm at Dolly Demovsky on the old Twitters. JJ, where can we find you?
At _double_letter J on Twitter.
And John?
I am at John Kehoe, JONKEHOE.
Wonderful. And we'll see you guys on the next SQW.
For life.
For life.